You will not believe what just went down with Jenny and Sumit at the airport. One moment, everything seemed normal, a simple goodbye, a routine flight. The next, the world flipped upside down. Jenny's hands shook as she clutched her bag, tears brimming in her eyes. And Sumit, he just stood there, staring at her like the ground had been ripped out from under both of them. It wasn't just sadness. It was betrayal, confusion, and heartbreak, all tangled into one unbearable moment. Fans watching this unfold online lost it. Comments exploded faster than any reunion drama we've ever seen. Some are furious, some are crying with them, and no one seems able to agree on what really happened. But here's the question burning in everyone's mind. How did a simple goodbye turn into this catastrophic emotional meltdown? Something snapped, and it's not what anyone expected. What makes this even crazier is what happened right after. A text message that was meant to stay private somehow leaked. Rumors are flying that a hidden secret, one that could shatter public perception of both Jenny and Sumit, has just come to light. People are speculating, fans are theorizing, and you can almost feel the tension crackling through every frame of the footage. And just when you think they might have salvaged even a shred of calm, one shocking revelation threatens to spiral everything completely out of control. What did Jenny discover that left Sumit speechless and fans scrambling for answers? That, my friends, is what you need to see next. Things had been tense for weeks leading up to this airport showdown. Jenny and Sumit's relationship was already hanging by a thread after a series of miscommunications, arguments, and a few eyebrow-raising moments that fans caught in the last few episodes. Remember when Jenny accused Sumit of ignoring her texts for days? Or when Sumit suddenly canceled plans without explanation, leaving her waiting? Those small cracks were easy to miss at first, but now, looking back, they were the early warning signs. Jenny has always been upfront about what she expects, and Sumit has a way of thinking he can smooth over problems with charm. But charm can only cover so much when the emotional stakes are this high. You could see it in every glance between them in the last episodes. Jenny's patience was thinning, and Sumit's frustration was simmering just under the surface. And let's be honest, sometimes the frustration came out in the most ridiculous ways. Remember the dinner fight where he couldn't even answer a simple question about plans, and Jenny just stared at him like, "Are you for real right now?" That moment alone had the internet in stitches for a whole week, but underneath it all, tension was building like a storm no one could ignore. Then came the secret revelations that nobody saw coming. A leaked screenshot here, a late-night confession there. Fans were left piecing together every conversation, every social media like, trying to figure out what was really going on. Jenny's friends started dropping subtle hints online, and Sumit's family weighed in with vague comments that only fueled speculation. Everyone was on edge, waiting for the next spark to ignite. Emotionally, Jenny was carrying the weight of anticipation, worry, and anger all at once. You could feel her anxiety even in the small moments, like when she paused before replying to a text, or checked her bag one too many times. Sumit was conflicted too. He wanted to explain himself, to calm the situation, but every time he opened his mouth, Jenny's glare reminded him how badly things had deteriorated. And fans online? They were divided, some rooting for reconciliation, some ready to call the whole thing off. Even with all this build-up, the episode starts quietly. A normal airport scene, people moving, announcements in the background, luggage rolling. But subtle tension is everywhere. Jenny's bag is in her hands, Sumit is by her side, and the distance between them feels heavier than it should. Small gestures, a sigh, a pause, averted eyes, hint at something much bigger waiting just around the corner. And here's where the humor sneaks in. Sumit tries to lighten the mood with a joke about missing their flight, and Jenny just rolls her eyes so hard you almost hear it through the screen. You know the type, trying to be funny, but the joke lands flat because the air is thick with unsaid words and past grievances. It's almost relatable, isn't it? We've all been there, right? That moment when someone tries to act normal while everything is quietly falling apart around them. But beneath the humor, you could feel the tension tightening. Every glance, every pause, every slight movement was loaded. It's like they were both walking on thin ice, knowing that one misstep could send everything crashing down. And as viewers, we can't help but lean in, sensing that the emotional bomb is ticking, even if we don't know exactly when it will go off. By the time they approach the security line, the anticipation is unbearable. Jenny's hand tightens around her bag strap, Sumit fidgets with his wallet, and everyone watching is holding their breath. You can almost predict that something major is about to happen. The airport, usually just a place of comings and goings, now feels like the stage for the next big revelation. And just as you think it might be a quiet goodbye, there's a hint, a small, almost imperceptible moment that sets the scene for the chaos that will erupt. A glance at a phone, a whispered word, a hesitation before stepping forward. The tension is visible, tangible, and impossible to ignore. Fans online were already buzzing before this episode aired. Threads speculated who would break first, whose secrets might come out, and which of them would face the toughest fallout. And even if you're not glued to the socials, you can feel it through the screen. That subtle energy that signals something big is coming. What nobody expected, though, was how quickly this tension would explode into betrayal, heartbreak, and drama that no one could walk away from untouched. The seeds were planted, the stage was set, and the first real sparks of conflict were about to fly. The moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. Jenny turned to Sumit with her bag clutched tightly, eyes searching for answers that weren't coming. Sumit hesitated, shifting from one foot to the other, and you could see it, the weight of what he'd done pressed into every movement. The secret had been outed, and the way it came to light was brutal. Not a slow reveal, not a gentle confession. This was the kind of betrayal that hits like a punch to the gut. Jenny's voice trembled as she asked the question no one expected to hear aloud. Sumit froze. His jaw tightened, his gaze flickered, and you could almost read his panic. Why would someone hide something so critical at a time like this? You could see the fear and desperation plain as day. He wanted to explain, to justify, but every word felt like it was caught halfway between honesty and self-preservation. The tension made the air thick. You could practically hear the silence screaming around them. And here's where behavior speaks louder than words. Jenny's reaction wasn't just anger. It was confusion, hurt, and disbelief all rolled into one. You can see it in her stance, the way she crosses her arms, how she shifts her weight slightly back. It's a subtle display of self-protection, an instinctive response to someone who's broken trust in front of witnesses. Sumit's gestures are telling too, nervous hands, darting eyes, small steps forward, then hesitation. He's trying to close the emotional gap, but the very effort underscores the reality, the bond is fraying, and it might not recover. Just when you think the scene can't get more intense, Sumit blurts out an explanation that barely lands. It's half confession, half deflection, and Jenny's reaction flips instantly. The hurt deepens, and the confrontation escalates. You can see the dynamic shifting from tense to combustible in seconds. Every fan watching at home feels it, the kind of suspense that makes your stomach twist because you know the fallout is about to be savage. Psychologically, this moment is fascinating. Jenny is in shock, processing betrayal and assessing her next move. Sumit is in crisis management mode, trying to regain control without fully acknowledging the damage. This is classic human behavior under extreme emotional stress. You see defensiveness, attempts at rationalization, and subtle cues that reveal guilt. We're watching real emotions, unfiltered, and it's gripping because it's relatable. Haven't we all had moments where someone we trusted did something unexpected and we had no idea how to respond? That's what keeps viewers glued. Then, just when you think a brief pause will bring calm, Sumit makes another misstep. A word choice, a gesture, a defensive laugh, small but loaded with meaning. Jenny's eyes narrow, and the tension spikes again. It's like watching a powder keg tick down to zero. Each micro-reaction builds suspense, and every frame is a mini cliffhanger. Fans online are already imagining the hashtags, the memes, the hot takes, and you can almost hear the notifications buzzing. Jenny finally drops the line that fans won't forget. It's direct, cutting, and forces Sumit to confront reality. And his response is raw, unscripted, vulnerable, but it also leaves questions unanswered. The confrontation doesn't resolve neatly. Instead, it lingers, leaving both of them suspended in a moment of emotional chaos. The audience is left feeling every second of betrayal, every flicker of guilt, every unspoken thought. Social media reaction is inevitable. Some fans will empathize with Jenny's position, others with Sumit's struggle to articulate remorse. You can see the storm building before it even hits the feeds. And this is where the real drama multiplies. The personal conflict now spreads outward, drawing in family, friends, and online communities. The tension isn't just between them anymore. It's public, it's messy, and it's impossible to ignore. The scene ends without resolution, leaving viewers hanging. Jenny walks a step ahead, bag in hand, glancing back at Sumit like she's weighing whether to let him follow or walk away. Sumit hesitates, then freezes, as if he can't decide what to do next. And in that pause, the stakes feel higher than ever. Betrayal has been revealed, emotions are raw, and the fallout is about to explode across every platform. As soon as the episode aired, the fan reaction was immediate and brutal. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every platform lit up like a fuse. Some fans were merciless, tearing into Sumit for his choices, calling out the betrayal in every possible way. Others rallied around Jenny, praising her courage and questioning whether anyone could recover from a shock like this. The hashtags exploded. Hashtag Jenny vs Sumit. Hashtag Betrayal Exposed. Hashtag 90-day Fiance Chaos. And you could almost track the tension in real time just by scrolling. What's fascinating is how polarized the opinions became. Some viewers argued that Jenny should walk away, claiming trust once broken is gone forever. Others suggested forgiveness, pointing out that relationships are messy, humans make mistakes, and Sumit's reaction showed at least some remorse. You see this split play out in comments, threads, and viral videos. The audience isn't just watching, they're actively participating, shaping the narrative with every post. If you've been following this story, you can understand why it hits so hard. Betrayal resonates because it taps into personal experience. Who hasn't felt blindsided by someone they trusted? And the speed at which fans reacted reflects a deeper psychological pull. People crave justice, closure, and the thrill of being in the know before anyone else. Watching Jenny's pain unfold makes fans feel connected, like witnesses to a live emotional earthquake. And the drama doesn't stop online. Memes are flying, reaction clips are trending, and commentary accounts are breaking down every word, gesture, and glance. One fan even dissected Sumit's body language frame by frame, highlighting micro-expressions that reveal panic and guilt. Another compared Jenny's responses across episodes, noting subtle changes in posture, tone, and eye contact that hint at growing frustration. It's like the audience is doing its own behavioral analysis, and they're obsessed. Now here's where it gets even more intense. Some fans began speculating on the next moves. Could Sumit fix this? Would Jenny forgive him? Or is the relationship truly over? Others predicted family involvement. How would Jenny's relatives react if they saw the confrontation? The speculation feeds the tension, keeping the narrative alive well beyond the episode itself. And let's not forget the comments that are equal parts sympathetic and savage. One viewer asked, "Would you have stayed if this happened to you?" Another wondered, "Could you forgive someone who hid something this big?" These questions aren't just conversation starters. They pull viewers into the drama emotionally, making them invest in the story as if it's their own life on the line. You can almost feel the debate happening inside each person watching. The tug of war between empathy and judgment. Even outside social media, the episode sparked discussions among casual viewers. People are replaying moments, debating intentions, and sharing clips with friends. The stakes are no longer just about Jenny and Sumit. They've become a cultural talking point, a shared experience that everyone has an opinion on. And here's where the tension escalates. Fans are expecting more, rumors are spreading, and the next chapter promises a twist that could upend everything we've seen so far. Jenny's next move, Sumit's response, even the role of friends and family, it's all in play. The drama has shifted from a private conflict to a public spectacle, and the anticipation is unbearable. By the end of this social media storm, one thing is clear. The audience isn't just watching. They're shaping the narrative, influencing reactions, and creating a pressure cooker for the next episode. And as the dust settles online, the question remains, what will Jenny do next? And can Sumit salvage anything at all? As the social media storm raged on, the network's reaction was quietly strategic, but no less dramatic. Behind the polished cameras and glossy promos, executives were scrambling. They reviewed every clip, every interview, every social media post, weighing liability, audience safety, and brand reputation. Decisions like this are never simple. The choice to intervene, to potentially issue warnings or bans, involves legal teams, producers, and even PR strategists. In this case, they had to ask themselves, how far does personal behavior off camera impact what appears on screen? The consequences of the scandal rippled fast. Jenny's family was immediately caught in the emotional crossfire. Siblings and parents faced private pressure, balancing support for Jenny with the public attention that came with the betrayal. One wrong move in front of a camera or on a social post could fan the flames further. You could see the stress etched into their faces, the subtle gestures of anxiety, hand-wringing, forced smiles, sudden silences. The tension wasn't only about the show, it was about how real people handle public scrutiny while navigating deep personal pain. Sumit, meanwhile, was facing the fallout in more ways than one. Every action he took was being analyzed and judged. His apologies were dissected for sincerity, his body language for honesty, and even the timing of his social media activity drew commentary. Watching him, you could sense the desperation. The awareness that redemption is possible but must be earned. Fans were torn. Some were willing to consider a second chance. Others refused to let past behavior slide. And you could see why. Behavior tells a story separate from identity. The actions here created a fracture, and whether he could repair trust would depend entirely on what came next. Jenny's own emotional journey became a case study in resilience. She was furious, hurt, and uncertain, yet determined to set boundaries. You could see it in small, almost imperceptible ways, her tone during interviews, the way she held herself during family conversations. The narrative framed her not as a victim, but as someone making difficult choices under extreme pressure. The audience related instantly, because many of us have faced moments where loyalty and self-respect collide, where confronting someone we love risks everything. Watching her process this publicly created empathy, but also suspense. Would she choose forgiveness? Or would she walk away permanently? The network's decision-making added another layer of drama. They began weighing penalties, warnings, and potential restrictions on future filming. Legal teams debated risk versus opportunity. Producers weighed ratings against ethics, and executives considered the long-term brand consequences. Reality TV thrives on drama, but when real people's struggles are involved, there's a fine line between entertainment and exploitation. It's a delicate balance, and every decision could have lasting effects, not just for Jenny and Sumit, but for the broader cast and future seasons. Public scrutiny intensified the emotional stakes. Fans, commentators, and media outlets dissected every move, creating a pressure cooker for everyone involved. Comments alternated between empathy and outrage, and this polarized environment only heightened the psychological tension. How do you respond when every decision is magnified, every misstep amplified? Jenny's measured responses and Sumit's attempts to make amends were both consumed with curiosity and suspicion. This is what makes reality TV simultaneously captivating and brutal. The line between personal struggle and public spectacle blurs, and the cast must navigate it carefully. Even the smallest interactions became loaded with meaning. A shared glance, a brief conversation, a social media post. Suddenly they carried weight far beyond their original intent. The audience was not only watching, but actively interpreting motives, predicting next steps, and emotionally investing in outcomes. This collective attention created an invisible pressure, accelerating the need for clear resolutions. And yet, resolution was elusive. Every move introduced new questions. Could trust ever be rebuilt? Would the network intervene further? How would the family adapt? Each answer seemed to raise more stakes than the last. Amid this chaos, redemption started to emerge as a central theme. Jenny considered professional counseling and personal reflection. Sumit began showing consistent accountability, and family members were learning to navigate conflict while staying supportive. The narrative shifted subtly from pure scandal to a story about growth, learning, and potential recovery. Fans picked up on this, and discussions turned towards second chances, ethical choices, and the limits of forgiveness. Watching someone confront their mistakes and take tangible steps to repair them became a compelling emotional anchor, providing hope amid heartbreak. Yet, the stakes remained high. Ethical dilemmas loomed. How much should the network intervene in personal behavior? How much responsibility does a public figure have to manage private struggles transparently? How much forgiveness is reasonable from a partner, family, or fan base? Every choice carried consequences, and the uncertainty created constant suspense. The audience was left weighing their own values alongside the cast's actions, forming personal judgments while anticipating what would come next. Jenny's journey, in particular, illustrated the tension between behavior and identity. Her actions, setting boundaries, seeking support, deciding on trust, showed character under duress. At the same time, public perception threatened to reduce her identity to the scandal itself. The contrast highlighted an important lesson. Actions define consequences, but they do not wholly define who someone is. This distinction kept the narrative emotionally complex, engaging viewers who craved both drama and nuance. Meanwhile, Sumit's path was about proving consistency over time. One public apology or social media post could not undo months of mistrust. Fans were watching every interaction for signs of sincerity, while critics were ready to pounce on any misstep. Redemption would require patience, accountability, and transparency, qualities that often clash with the immediacy-driven world of reality TV. Observing him navigate these pressures created suspense, emotional tension, and anticipation for the next chapter. Family dynamics also remained a focal point. Jenny's relatives faced internal conflicts, loyalty to her versus concern about public exposure, support versus enabling, emotion versus strategy. Their involvement complicated every decision, intensifying drama while also humanizing the story. Viewers could empathize, relate, and even reflect on their own familial tensions, adding layers of engagement that kept the audience invested. As this act closes, the threads of consequence, accountability, and redemption are tightly interwoven. Every action has a reaction, every choice carries weight, and the emotional stakes remain sky high. The network is watching, the fans are watching, and the cast is acutely aware that every decision will echo long into the next episodes. And just when you think a pattern is forming, a subtle signal appears, a hesitant text, a lingering glance, a family conversation hinting at yet another twist. It's a reminder that nothing is settled, that redemption is never simple, and that the fallout from behavior, ethical, emotional, and public, can take unexpected turns. Who will take responsibility? Can trust be rebuilt, or is the rupture permanent? The answer isn't simple, and every next step could redefine everything. Looking back at everything that unfolded, the emotional roller coaster of this episode hits harder than anyone could have predicted. What started as a shocking revelation spiraled into a series of choices that forced every single person involved, Jenny, Sumit, their families, and even the network, to confront uncomfortable truths about loyalty, trust, and personal responsibility. Each reaction, each confession, and each silent pause carried weight far beyond the screen. The ripple effects weren't just dramatic, they were profoundly human. Jenny's response to the betrayal set the tone for the entire narrative. Her mixture of anger, hurt, and cautious hope demonstrated the complexity of human emotion when confronted with both public exposure and private pain. Watching her wrestle with whether to confront, forgive, or step back entirely mirrored experiences viewers have had themselves. That tension, the push and pull between self-preservation and compassion, is what made every scene pulse with energy. And you could feel the anticipation in the air. What choice would define her path forward? Sumit's attempts at accountability were equally revealing. The struggle to repair trust while under a microscope exposed how difficult it can be to separate intention from perception. Every gesture, every carefully worded message, every attempt at explanation became part of the public narrative. The audience was forced to ask themselves, do repeated mistakes erase goodwill, or can consistent effort rebuild what's been broken? That question, lingering in the background, kept everyone engaged and emotionally invested. Meanwhile, the family was caught in a relentless tug-of-war between protecting their loved one and navigating the scrutiny of millions. Every interaction they had, whether supporting Jenny or confronting Sumit, was amplified by the public gaze. The subtle expressions, half smiles, and moments of tension carried more weight than words could convey. It's a vivid reminder of how family dynamics play out under pressure, and how quickly private struggles can become public debates. The social media storm amplified the intensity even further. Fans debated, argued, and speculated endlessly, polarizing opinions and shaping the narrative in real time. Some cheered for redemption, some demanded accountability, and others simply watched in disbelief. Observing these reactions shows how collective attention can intensify personal drama, transforming private conflicts into a shared, cultural experience. It also highlighted a crucial point. In reality TV, audience perception often drives the consequences almost as much as the actual behavior. Ethical questions hovered above every decision. How responsible is a network for the off-camera actions of its stars? How much should public figures shield their personal lives versus being transparent with the audience? What does accountability truly look like when the stakes involve real people with real emotions? By presenting these dilemmas without easy answers, The episode elevated itself beyond mere scandal, inviting viewers to reflect on morality, empathy, and the tension between behavior and identity. Watching the progression of events also revealed how powerful the path to redemption can be. Jenny and Sumit both faced opportunities to learn, adapt, and grow, but the choices weren't straightforward. Redemption in this context required more than words. It demanded visible, consistent action. And even then, the question of forgiveness and rebuilding trust remained open-ended. That uncertainty is what keeps audiences engaged, emotionally tethered, and debating long after the episode ends. There was also a subtle but important psychological thread running throughout. How fear, betrayal, and social pressure shape human behavior. You could see it in every glance, every hesitation, every confrontation. People act defensively, sometimes rashly, sometimes cautiously, all while trying to maintain some sense of dignity. The cast's struggles became a mirror for the audience, prompting reflection on how we handle conflict, disappointment, and the consequences of our actions in our own lives. Jenny's internal processing offered key insights into emotional resilience. Despite heartbreak, she remained intentional about her boundaries, her voice steady even when hurt, her actions deliberate rather than reactive. That kind of clarity in the middle of chaos is rare, and it resonated strongly with viewers. It made her more than a participant in a scandal. It made her relatable, human, and someone to root for even as the drama escalated. Sumit, on the other hand, demonstrated the challenge of accountability in real time. His missteps, followed by attempts to correct course, highlighted the fine line between genuine remorse and performative gestures. Fans watching could sense the tension between effort and perception, and that uncertainty fueled speculation, debate, and engagement. Would his actions be enough to repair trust, or had the fracture gone too deep? That lingering question ensured eyes stayed glued to the screen. The network's influence added another layer of tension. Their decisions about how to handle the fallout, manage filming schedules, and preserve brand reputation created a silent but powerful pressure on every cast member. Even when cameras weren't rolling, the weight of scrutiny and possible consequences shaped behavior, fueling anxiety, hesitation, and occasional breakthroughs. That unseen hand amplified drama without needing additional scripted moments, proving once again that reality TV is as much about what happens off-camera as on. As we draw these threads together, it becomes clear that this episode was more than scandal. It was an exploration of trust, accountability, and the human cost of public exposure. The choices made in moments of crisis reveal far more about character than any curated scene could. They force viewers to confront uncomfortable truths about human behavior, the consequences of actions, and the tension between empathy and judgment. And in doing so, they set the stage for what comes next. So here's the question for you. Would you have handled this differently? Could you forgive a betrayal under such public pressure? Or would walking away have been the only option? Comment below with your thoughts, because this story isn't just on the screen, it's sparking a conversation about trust, boundaries, and accountability in our own lives. And as we close, a warning: the next episode promises to push boundaries even further. Secrets that have been simmering behind closed doors are on the verge of exploding. One cast member may finally draw the line, reshaping relationships, power dynamics, and what everyone thought they knew. Every choice, every action, and every revelation will ripple across the cast, the fans, and the network. Next episode, the tension will reach a boiling point. Lies, betrayals, and unspoken truths will collide. One member may finally say, "Enough is enough," and the fallout could redefine the story entirely. You do not want to miss what happens next, because it is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about loyalty, love, and consequence. Everything that's happened so far, betrayals, apologies, social media storms, family tension, is only the setup. The payoff is coming, and it promises to be even more intense, emotional, and unpredictable than what we've seen already.